Now, all revved up for more red-hot motorsport, it's the LG Super Racing Weekend with
Yokohama, power of performance.
Now on Eurosport, cars you see on the road every day, but you've never seen them go like this. It's the FIA European Touring Car Championship.
With KW, the Sport Shock Absorbers Specialist.
Welcome to Estoril in Portugal, the Atlantic coast of Portugal, the most westerly part of Europe. And we're here for the final races in the European Touring Car Championship. Returning after 12 years in the wilderness for 2002, the European Touring Car Championship brings the drivers to the final pair of races. And although the overall driver's title was won last time out by Fabrizio Giovanardi of Alfa Romeo, there is still a battle between the Schnitzer BMW drivers and Nicola Larini in the Nordauto Alfa for the runner-up spot. Well, as well as that, of course, there is the chance for drivers who have yet to post a victory to win their first race of the season in the final pair. And those drivers include our pole sitter Ricard Riedel. It's his first pole of the season for Volvo, and well, based on that, he may perhaps go one better than his best result so far and get up onto the top step of the podium. He had expected Donington Park to favour the Volvo slightly more than Estoril, but it seems that the Volvo has been the quickest car all weekend. So Riedel starting from pole position with Giovanardi alongside him. The car's already on the warm-up lap as we join them. Round 19 of 20 then. Last three cars on the grid, the yellow machine there, Marco Antonelli, the blue Nissan of Tommy Rustad, and the little Honda of Salvatore Tavano's teammate did not make the grid because, or did not finish in qualifying rather, because they had various problems. And there you see the points situation. Well, the point situation is that Nicola Larini is basically the man under threat this weekend. It's Sandro Sardelli's Honda right at the back, but right at the front it's Ricard Riedel's Volvo. Fabrizio Giovanardi alongside Tom Coronel in the BMW, then Jörg Müller, who carries 20 kilos of success ballast, and further back again in 11th place Dirk Müller, who carries 30 kilos of success ballast. The men trying to unseat Nicola Larini. Last car on the grid is the Frenchman Eric Cayrol, who crashed before qualifying. Rustad's car blew an engine in qualifying, as did Sardelli's, and also Marco Antonelli failing to set a time in qualifying. They have been allowed to start. So on board with Dirk Müller, the 43 car, 11th place on the grid, and it really doesn't matter how well the BMW starts, it's going to be very hard indeed to get to grips with Nicola Larini, who starts in 4th. View back there from Duncan Heisman's car. Heisman came here last year with a chance of beating Peter Cox for the Super Production title. Cox nerfed him out of the race at a restart early on, and Heisman was unable to overhaul his compatriot in the standings. So on board with Dirk Müller from 11th place. There you see James Hansen and the two Nissans of Robert Collard and his RJN teammate a row behind him, Tommy Rustad, coming into line. Green flag at the back of the grid. On the right-hand side, the pole man is Ricard Riedel. On the left, the champion, Fabrizio Giovanardi. But watch for the BMWs to explode from behind in a very ambitious start from 3rd place on the grid by Tom Coronel. But immediately, look, a battle wheel to wheel. Giovanardi gets a nudge from Riedel but takes the lead. Riedel under pressure. He's on the outside of Coronel. And that slowed Ricard Riedel down. Bouncing up in the air again is Nicola Larini, as he was in the first corner at Donington Park. Cars off backwards. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cars involved in that. The first 4, 5 get away, and Ricard Riedel already down to 5th place. That is the 21 car. The second of the Carly Motorsport cars of Duncan Heisman. Coming on there, Freddie Ekblom in the BMW Team Belgium car, and it is absolute chaos. There is the one of the two, that's the Spanish driver, there's Villamil, Here from Tom, there is Tom Ferrier right behind everybody on the grass on the inside. This is looking back from Heisman, I think, as he gets spun round with Dirk Muller. Let's see if he picks his way through the carnage. He's trying to stay inside. Oh no! And that may well spend the end of Dirk Muller's championship challenge as he gets a nerf in the front, unable to avoid the spinner, but does pick up several places. So it's Giovanardi that leads, Tom Coronel in second place. And trying to make out who's in third, it's Jörg Muller. And there is Tom Ferrier. Oh dear, what a sadly banana-shaped car. Ferrier out of this race for sure. Broken right rear suspension and the ding in the door. Dirk Muller then, way down the order. Jörg Muller in third. Ricardo Reidel in fourth. Oh, Dirk just grabs the gear in time into the S's, really standing on it. Is that him back there? Could be him in fifth place. And maybe Rob Collard behind him in sixth place. Well, we'll have to see when they get to the end of the lap. Reidel from pole as Larini is out of the race. Well, this is drama indeed. On lap one, Nicola Larini out of the penultimate round of the series. And that really does throw the door open for Jörg and Dirk Muller. Well, we saw Larini bounced up in the air between some cars at Donington, and again here, Coronel being passed for second place by Jörg Muller. And is that Tom Coronel allowing Jörg Muller to get through? Because, of course, they are both BMW drivers, even though for different teams. I think perhaps it might have been. No question about it. Jörg will be well fired up, but I think Tom may just have let him through. On board with race leader Fabrizio Giovanardi, and I do think he'll clear off. However, with Nicola Larini not scoring any points from this 19th race of the series, that is a chance for Jürgen Dirk Muller. And it is Dirk Muller in fifth place from 11th on the grid, or everybody in front of him basically between 11th and 5th took themselves out. And there is one of the walking wounded crawling back still. The BMWs that are involved in that earlier incident are crawling in. Well, on board with Giovanardi, making it look so easy here. Giovanardi already the champion. Safety car is out. And, well, not quite sure why, following one of the damaged BMWs in. And that's the BMW Team Spain car. And that will be Hodi Genet. And the safety car following him round. Of course, the safety car follows everybody at the end of the first lap. And for Genet, that is still the first lap. The leaders are coming to the end of their second lap. Dirk Muller here. Through the S's, and safety car again, following in another of the damaged Alphas, may well be Tom Ferrier's car, as the leaders come across the line at the end of lap 2. It's Giovanardi first, Jörg Muller in second place, and Reidel's up to third for Volvo. So Reidel in a podium position already. I think the chance of this win may have gone west. However, if positions remain like this, he might get a better shot in race 2, although of course he will have some BMWs in front of him, which will make life very tough indeed for the Swede. And he really did want, from perhaps a little bit of a surprise pole position, to be able to go out and win at least one in the Volvo this year. Well, here's a look at the first corner. It's Larini bumped up into the air on the 42 car of Jörg Muller, trying to defend as Muller was down the inside, and it was Larini's car landing that really triggered the carnage behind that battle for what I guess then must have been about fourth place. Jörg Muller coming from fifth place inside Nicola Larini, and the two of them making contact. Jörg Muller now in second, as we can see, chasing Giovanardi, but Larini out of the race. His second place in the points, not looking at all secure. Welcome back to Estoril, 5 laps into the 19th and penultimate European Touring Car Championship race of the year. The champion, Fabrizio Giovanardi, leads the race, and he is slowly but surely being reeled in by BMW driver Jörg Muller, who is easing out a tiny margin. And there is Fabrizio Di Simone in trouble in the second of the BMW Team Spain cars. We already saw Jordi Canet retire to the pits after trouble on the first lap. And there is Reidel in third, being left behind by Jörg Muller, but caught by Dirk Muller. And these pictures coming to you live from Estoril, and we will remain in Estoril to take race 2 live as well. Well, Giovanardi making the best of the start on the outside of the front row alongside Ricard Rydell, the pole sitter. Got away better, Rydell banging wheels with him on the run down to the first corner. Giovanardi got in front of him, so too did Tom Coronel, and so too then did Jörg Müller. Jörg Müller has since passed Tom Coronel, so too has Ricard Rydell. So Coronel, the amiable Dutchman, down in 4th spot, but it's Jörg Müller in 2nd place and Dirk Müller in 5th position, despite the success ballast, 20 and 30 kilos respectively for Jörg and Dirk, who are seemingly the quickest cars on the track at the moment. Giovanardi just about able to contain Jörg Müller at the moment, but if Jörg can close that gap down to 3 or 4 tenths, then I'm afraid Giovanardi will be in big trouble, because the BMW likes these corners. And there you see Tommy Rustad ahead of James Hansen. Rustad up into 7th, having started at the back of the grid after an engine failure in qualifying denied him the chance to set any kind of competitive time. And the RGN Motorsport team were hoping to have shown off their new shape Nissan Primera, which it is hoped will be racing next season. However, they finally decided in the end they've done really precious little testing with the car, and I think between themselves and Alex Poole, the men at what remains of Nissan Motorsport Europe, they probably decided that it was best to go with the old car rather than show off the new model. Well, there has been confirmation of the new rules and the changes for 2003, among which, incidentally, is a put-up or shut-up clause for manufacturers, which it means that if you are racing in the series as a manufacturer, you get a voice in the Touring Car Commission. If you're not, you don't. So you're either bringing something to the table or they're not interested in hearing from you, and I think that's an entirely sensible rule. Stops too much muddying of the water by non-interested parties, or disinterested parties perhaps. And as we get towards the mid-stage here, Nicola Larini out of the race, and 2nd place in the championship points, could be getting a little closer to Jörg Müller, because he is now right behind Giovanardi. That last lap he has cut back the margin from 9 tenths to precious little more than 2 tenths of a second to Fabrizio Giovanardi. Now, of course, Jörg Müller is 3rd in points coming here, and he is just 5 behind Nicola Larini, and at the moment he will score 6 points for 2nd place. He's going for 10 for victory, don't you doubt it, but even if he has to settle for 2nd place here, that will put him a single point ahead of Larini in the final race of the season. And all he needs then to do is stay ahead of Larini, because Larini will have to start from the back of the grid if his car is repairable. Larini's car, of course, abandoned out there on the track. I have to confess, I don't know what the rules are if the Nord Auto team put Nicola in a different car, say that of Romano Bernardoni, the number 3 car, or if they have a spare. Now the battle for the lead is on for real though. Giovanardi leads, but he'll be punishing that left front tyre through the long final corner, plus under braking at the end of the straight. We may well see that, because that, of course, is the heavily laden tyre turning into corner 1. Dirk Müller is still back in 5th place, and Jörg Müller now looking more and more likely to make a pass for the lead, but hold fast, because Ricard Rydell is closing in now as Giovanardi is running out of speed. 6 laps to go, and you think it's almost impossible he'll hold Jörg Müller off for that long. He will try to do so, of course, not for any gain of his own, but primarily, having passed Nicola Larini's car, he knows Larini is out, he will try and limit Jörg Müller's points scoring ability. And that's all that Giovanardi can do. Of course, Gio wants to win the race per se, but more importantly, I think perhaps he will be trying to hold off Jörg Müller, not just for personal pride, but also for his teammate Nicola Larini. Well, he hasn't needed much assistance from Larini this year. Indeed, up until Donington Park, they were battling each other for the title, Giovanardi and Larini. But in the last couple of seasons, towards the closing stages, he has had the help of his teammate once he'd established himself as the ascendant and title-challenging Alfa driver. And now with 4 consecutive touring car titles in the last 4 years, Giovanardi and the Nord Auto team really looking impressively the cream of European touring car racing. But now's a chance for Jörg Müller. Onto the straight, out to the parabolic Ayrton Senna in the perfect position. 1 car length behind The Alfa may have the straight line speed, but it's pulling the BMW with it. And Jörg Müller getting closer, so close that before the braking zone he has to duck out. Couldn't go down the inside. He will try and take a run between corner 1 and corner 2 and use his drive off the corner as the Alfa scrabbles to get the power down. Can't make it through there, but he is all over the back of Giovanardi with 5 to go, including this one. Looking to make a move very soon indeed, and he's right there, pushing Gio through the corner. Rydell is right behind him. First, second and third. It could go to anybody now, this win, and potentially still to a car not in the frame if there is a major off between the leaders. So Giovanardi hanging on by the skin of his teeth, but he is such a wily competitor. He may have the quickest red car there is, but he knows how to use what he's got. Coronel 4th, Dirk Müller 5th, Tommy Rustad 6th, but Giovanardi narrowly leading. Back at Estoril into the closing stages. Now 4 laps to go in this 19th race of the European Touring Car Championship. And again into the first corner, Jörg Müller desperately looking for a way to outbrake Fabrizio Giovanardi. And Müller now with Rydell much too close for comfort in 3rd place. 4th you see Tom Coronel, 5th is Dirk Müller, and Jörg again, desperately late under braking and runs wide. Rydell moves through into 2nd place. Little touch of wheels there. Jörg Müller now has the advantage in the left-hander. He'll hold on, but only just. And Giovanardi must be going, yes, come on, Ricard, because he wants Rydell to get, sorry about the accent, gets right in there with Jörg Müller and mix it up and distract the German, because Giovanardi now wants to win this. So 8 of 12 laps, Rydell 3rd, Coronel, Rustad now ahead of Dirk Müller. What's happened to Dirk Müller? We have not seen him. Oh, that's dreadful luck for Dirk Müller. Well, remember, he hit the second of the BMW Team Great Britain cars, which was stationary in the road in front of him in that first corner kerfuffle. And I did suggest when we saw the onboard replay as he nosed in head first that perhaps that might be the end of his championship challenge. My fear was for a punctured radiator or oil radiator at the front there, either the water cooler or the oil cooler. And if that has been the case, then he will have seen soaring temperatures and maybe pulled into the pits to try and get it fixed for race 2. Maybe not even made it that far. Now again, out of the parabolica, here comes Jörg Müller. Closer than ever before now. He's going to have to pull out so early on or run into the back of Giovanardi. But again, even with the toe, see how Gio can just keep him, well, not even half a car length, a yard away, almost all the way down the length of the straight. And Giovanardi plumb in the centre of the road. Has he gone too deep? Nearly outbraked himself completely there, Giovanardi. Little neater from all 3 of them, no clouds of tyre smoke. But it's here in the 2nd and 3rd corners that the downhill section really favours the BMW as the front drive cars kill their left front tyre. And how again does Giovanardi keep the nose so tight up to the curbs? He really knows how to make this Alfa grip the track like it's a rear drive car at the front end. So impressed with his performances this year in the cars. Sometimes you just can't imagine that it's actually a front drive car, the way he gets it to brake, turn and steer right up on the inside curbs all the time. So Giovanardi, Müller and Rydell, the gap's immaterial. Behind them in 4th place, still Tom Coronel, and off the podium, I'm afraid, this time in the BMW Team Great Britain car, and that's a bit of a shame for Coronel. But Rydell, well, not where he wanted to be on the podium, and he'll think that from pole position this was a chance squandered and will rue the opportunity that Giovanardi took to come down the inside into the first turn. Rydell tried his hardest to shut the door, but not perhaps as quickly away as Giovanardi. Jörg Müller here in 2nd place. Well, in the end, of course, he'll want to add to his tally of victories, but doesn't matter, because this point, or these 6 points for 2nd place that he's looking at the moment, will be enough to give him the 2nd place in the championship going into the final round. So Giovanardi again with Müller behind him, and again Müller's forced to come to the inside. or to the outside of the track rather, with Giovanardi plumb centre. Muller would have to really sacrifice any chance of making it out of the turn to come down the inside under braking. But now again, looking between 1 and 2. Now in the old Estoril, when 1 was a really big ballsy first corner and there wasn't that little kink on the run down to turn 2, he could maybe have made it. But again, maybe the Alfa would have held its line a little better and not given him quite so much opportunity. Rydell again, really trying to force his way through into second place. Of course, it's a double-edged sword really here for these three, because at the moment they will start not first, second and third in race 2, but 6th, 5th and 4th if they finish in this order. So by pushing yourself up the podium 1 spot in this race, you push yourself 1 spot further back the grid in the next one. But I'm sure they will take that. Ricard Rydell's right-hand door panel with a big dent in it from that contact with Giovanardi. Giovanardi's Alfa looks like it's just come out of the showroom valeting suite. Doesn't look like there's been any damage to that car at all. Almost taken over the mantle of Audi's touring cars of being rock-solid racers. Nordauto, Team GTA do know how to build solid cars, no question about that. And incidentally, during the week on Wednesday evening this week, we will be having our regular Super Racing Weekend magazine programme, but also special feature shot in the last couple of weekends, homing in on the Nordauto team and team boss Monica Simpson, just to show what goes on behind the scenes at a race weekend for the men and women in red. And as we come here to Estoril, towards the final race now, Jörg Muller, headlights ablaze, because, yeah, Giovanardi didn't know he was there, really, did he? Again, Gio deep into the first corner, and again, Muller unable to make a way through on the inside. But time is running out in this race, at least for Jörg Muller. He would love to win again. The BMW driver, of course, who won the first race for BMW. That was back in Sweden in the rain when he seized it from Ricard Rydell's Volvo on the final lap in the first race. And here as we start to climb again, this Estoril circuit shown on board. There we are behind the paddock from Fabrizio Giovanardi. It's a great racetrack, overtaking opportunities and plenty of challenges for the drivers. But Giovanardi knows them all. He's had to put up with a lot of attacks from behind in this race and in previous seasons here at Estoril, and he knows how to defend well. And Jörg Muller, for all his efforts, unable to really get through. He wasn't going to risk everything in the penultimate race, because he will have in his head very firmly fixed the fact that he came into the race 5 points behind Nicola Larini, the current second place man in the series, and that he is now going to gain 6 points for second place, and that is better than no points at all for being stuck in the gravel trap. And with Larini out of race 1 here, then of course in the end the ultimate challenge is to take second place for BMW and break up the Alfa domination of those top 2 places that they have held all season long. Out of the final corner then for the end of race 19 in the series, Giovanardi leading the drag race to the line, and Jörg Muller will have to follow him across at the checkered flag. Rydell in 3rd place. They are the podium men, as we have expected right from the end of the first couple of laps pretty much. So Giovanardi wins once more, losing track now of how many of the 19 races he's won. I think that might well be race win number 14. Let's have a look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, only race win number 9, in fact. But still not bad going. 9 out of 19. If he can win the final round of the series, he will have the 50% win to start ratio, and that would be an impressive figure to end his season with, as well as his 4th consecutive tin top title. So Fabrizio Giovanardi clearly established himself in the last few years as one of Europe's premier saloon car racers, and the Nordauto Alfa team, well, you can barely think of another red team that has been so dominant over the last period, give or take perhaps Ferrari. So Giovanardi the winner then, and Jörg Muller will start alongside him. They'll be 6th and 5th in the starting lineup for race 2. Then Rydell will be 4th, Tom Coronel 3rd, Tommy Rustad 2nd, and James Hansen's Volvo it is that will lead the field away in the second race. So this is how race 1 played out. Giovanardi leading despite intense pressure and multiple attempts to take the lead from Jörg Müller. But now Jörg Müller goes into the 20th and final race of the year in runner-up spot in the championship. Can he hold on to it? Find out in a minute. Back live at Estoril, the overnight rain has yet to affect the racing. The GT race started in the damp, but it's dry for the touring car races, and we're now ready for the 20th and final round of the season, or at least most of us are, because there is frantic work going on in the pits to Nicola Larini's car after being bounced out of the first race. Jörg Müller second place in race 1, now second place in the points. Dirk Müller did not score though, and that means he can now not pass Nicola Larini to take third place, no matter what happens in the final race. So it'll be the Volvo of James Hansen there, who's tied 9th in the points with Ruperti and Heisman, who will start from the front row of the grid. Alfa Romeo, the Manufacturers' Championships, Nordauto, GTA Racing, the Teams Championship winners, and Fabrizio Giovanardi, the number 1 plate. Well, it will go onto his car again in 2003. He is our champion, of course. He starts 6th here after winning race 1.
Fabrizio Giovanardi, you're the champion. Is it still important for you to win this race? And you are followed by the Volvo and the BMW.
Yes, of course. Every time I want to win. I win the first match, I want to win the second one.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
So Giovanardi, 9 times a winner in 19 starts. Can he make it 10 out of 20 and get up to that 50% record? He starts in 6th place. There you can see the Alphas. It's Hansen on pole though. James Hansen for Volvo. Tommy Rustad on the outside the front row of the grid. Jörg Müller starts 5th place, now 2nd in the championship by a single point. Let's see if we can catch a word with Jörg.
Joe Müller, you really fighting for the 2nd place. This is the last race, the last chance.
Yeah, that's what I said before the race. It's the only chance to fight very hard. I mean, it was very tough at the start. Everyone went to the inside, same than I did, and Larini somehow hit my wheels and jumped over me. So the rest of the race, I was surprised about the speed in the race. It was very tactic, and especially Giovanardi tried to slow me down, that Rydell could catch me again. But I also played a little bit tactics, and it was okay.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So Jörg Müller there confirming what we pretty much all guessed, that in the end he was not going to risk that 2nd place in the championship and 2nd place in the race by having an all-out assault on Giovanardi. So it will be pole position for Volvo for the 2nd time this weekend, not for Rickard Rydell, who earned it in qualifying by setting the fastest lap. He will start in 4th place on the grid. He didn't get away as smartly as he would have liked in race 1. And finished in 3rd spot. Top 6 in the race, of course, are reversed. There's Dave Benbow, the team engineer, with the headset on. And it's James Hansen, the young Briton who was racing last year, of course, with Edenbridge in a BMW in the super production class, who leads them away here. Now then, Alfa Romeo's in the garage. You can see that of Luis Villamil there. He will not take the start, nor will Fabrizio Di Simone in the BMW Team Spain car. And Dirk Müller will not start either, I'm afraid to say. Dirk Müller's car suffered a blown engine. So Dirk Müller, who hits the other BMW head-on, couldn't avoid the spun car. And unfortunately, I think that must have damaged the radiators, and Dirk Müller's car dropped out of the running about halfway through round 19. He will not take the start. However, at the moment, with Giovanardi on 122 points, Jörg Müller on 86, Nicola Larini on 85, and Dirk Müller on 70. The next closest man to Müller in 4th place is Rickard Rydell in 5th with only 51 points. So Dirk Müller, despite not starting, will get to finish in 5th place in the series. And there you see Tommy Rustad on the front row of the grid for the first time all year, and that will please the RJN Motorsport team. So Rustam, the Norwegian, waving. And that's quite remarkable, actually, because he had an engine fail and didn't set a qualifying time, started right towards the back of the grid, only 2 or 3 from the back, and got through the first corner carnage, picked up a slew of places there, and a good strong race from him. So to finish in 5th place ahead of James Hansen Volvo, which puts him on the outside of the front row of the grid. There on the right, closest to the camera, Bob Neville. And he will really be hoping that this shoestring operation, which has been scraped all the meat off the shoestring, so tiny is their budget, will continue to be able to race Alfa Romeos next year. Well, hole on the grid there, behind the top half dozen. Not sure whose car that is purporting to be for. That'd be interesting to see. Well, there is James Hansen's pit board, and he's on pole position. And there is Pippa Nielsen, the ProDrive Volvo PR girl, just stepping out of the way of the cameras. Let's hear from James.
Could you tell me about the car? It's very performant.
Yeah, in the first race I got pushed into another car at the start of the first corner. We lost the front splitter, so we had no aerodynamics in the front for the first race. So I think 6th in the first race from 14th was very good. On the outlap, the car felt a lot better than it did in the first race. So
you start.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, you're starting on the pole position, which is quite difficult because they're all going to try to overtake.
Well, yeah, but it's my job to keep them behind, so we'll see what happens.
Thank you, James Hansen.
Okay, thank you.
So James Hansen on pole position for, well, the first time in his touring car career, that's for sure. The Edenbridge BMWs, rear drive cars, of course. All his racing up until then, karting and single-seaters, all rear drive cars. This is his first year in front-wheel drive, and he would be, I think, probably the first to confess that it has been a real learning curve. Now he is on pole position. Let's see what he can make of the start. Well, again, the Estoril track, the former home of the Portuguese Grand Prix, of course, and the revised first corner now, leading into this twisty downhill section, then uphill to the interior parabolica behind the pits, through that steep uphill, well, second gear S's, I guess, corner it is, and into the S's, and then the long parabolica Ayrton Senna, which leads them out onto the front straight. And as you can see, it's cool, blustery, and pretty damp as well. Fabrizio Giovanardi receiving hand signal messages there from the mechanics. He wasn't wiping the windscreen, he was commenting on the shapely form of the girl holding the pit board. Rather too obviously there, I think. Universal hourglass gesture. So looking back from Duncan Heisman, the 10 car is the BMW, I'm sorry, small things please me, obviously. Looking back towards the 10 car, BMW Team Belgium car of Freddie Ekblom. There's Ricard Rijdel. And Rijdel, well, I wonder what he can make of this start. Of course, with the front drive car and with Jörg Müller lining up alongside and behind him and Tom Coronel alongside. Rijdel, although he'll have the inside line, will have two ostensibly quicker starting cars on the outside of him. There is Rijdel, second back on the pit wall side, but Jörg Müller here on the outside. The BMWs just basically start better because when you accelerate in a car, as you all know from driving your own cars, the weight moves backwards. And in a BMW or any other rear drive car, that puts more rather than less of the weight on the driven wheels, which gives you better traction, just stops the wheel spin a fraction better. Now in a front drive car, of course, as the weight comes backwards, as any of you who drive front drive cars have tried to accelerate briskly maybe onto a wet roundabout will know, that as the weight goes back off the front wheels, they are easier to spin. And there is the problem for the front drive cars away from the line. And chiefly that is an away from the line problem. You can see the yellow car in the pit lane. That is the Bugatti team entry of Marco Antonelli. So he was obviously one of those involved in earlier problems. He will start from the pit lane, and that was the car driven earlier in the year by Paolo Ruberti. Car number 2, Nicola Larini, still in the pits, and I have to say there was a lot of soaring of bodywork going on earlier on, so maybe Nicola Larini will start, maybe Nicola Larini will not start. Fabrizio Giovanardi may know, well, he ain't telling, And quite frankly, it won't make any difference to his race one way or the other unless suddenly, somehow, he's the race leader and Larini appears in his mirrors looking to go by, in which case, obviously, Gio will pull over and let Larini try and take second place in the championship, because that would be the only blot in the ointment, if you like, for Nordauto Team GTA Racing this year, that they do not tie up first and second in the drivers' standings. But at the moment, it looks as though that will not happen. So cars on the grid, everybody pretty much ready to go, waiting to get the countdown underway for the start of this 20th and final race of the year. And looking back at the championship doesn't really give you the full story. If you look at this in 10 years' time or 2 years' time, having never seen any of the races, you'll look at Fabrizio Giovanardi, won both races at Magny-Cours, second and first at the second race weekend at Silverstone. He won both races in Brno. He was first and second then in Jarama. He was second and fourth in Anderstorp, fourth and no points in Oschersleben, fifth and no points in Spa, won both races at Enna, fourth in both races at Donington Park, and he's won again here in Estoril. You would say that clearly he just galloped away for most of the season. And towards the end of the races, to be fair, that's the way it has been. But we have had some great racing in, particularly at the beginning of all of the races. There has been some very, very fierce racing. And although the Alfa Romeo 156 GTAs have had a significant speed advantage, which has become, to be fair, slightly less significant throughout the year, the Alphas have been quicker, no question, in a straight line. We have still seen the BMWs, the Volvos, mixing it with them and really making them work very hard indeed. And particularly early in the season, only some very robust driving by Giovanardi kept him in front of a number of the races. I'm thinking here Silverstone, Magny-Cours even, thinking Brno as well, where a couple of question marks perhaps raised over the cleanliness of the driving. However, Giovanardi held on to post the wins he needed to build himself what turned out to be an unassailable championship lead. And we'll be back at Estoril in just a second. Bit of a hold to the start here at Estoril for the last race in the European Touring Car Championship. And we are just hearing that the start will be in 10 minutes from now. Not quite sure why. We also are hearing a couple of disquieting things over a headset about car 42. Now, car 42 is Jörg Müller. And the only information that I have is a garbled message that he was given a 30-second warning. Now, I'm not quite sure why. Well, let's look back at the first race, and there is the car that did the damage to Dirk Müller. He couldn't avoid the 21 car of Duncan Heisman, ran into it. Looking back from Heisman, there's Tom Ferrier, and there is Freddie Ekblom's broken right rear suspension in the BMW Team Belgium car. Fabrizio Giovanardi, the race leader, out of the first turn, really feeling the pressure of Jörg Müller's assault, and the start now being brought forward to 4 minutes from now. Jörg Müller in second place throughout the race, and as he caught Giovanardi and was held up by him, Ricard Rydell closed right in, and that was Giovanardi's plan as Jörg Müller saw it, and at one stage it nearly worked. Rydell did get alongside Jörg Müller but couldn't quite hold second place, and so it was the German who took second, the Swede who took third, the Italian who won the race. But now they will start in the back of the top six, and those who were sixth, as it says in the good book, shall be first, almost, in the FIA good rule book anyway. And there you see Tom Ferrier's car, the Union flag on the roof. So his car has been rebuilt, but still there are spaces on the grid. As we look towards the front, with a Volvo and a Nissan on the front row of the grid. BMW and Volvo on row 2. BMW and Alfa Romeo on row 3. Fabrizio Giovanardi's camera shows us the tyre warmers are now peeled off Ricard Rydell's car. And in a moment or two we will get the order to clear the grid of personnel as we get into the final 2-minute countdown for the start of this 20th and final race of the European Touring Car Championship. The 3-minute board being shown now, so clear the grid is the signal. And James Hansen, car 61, Pippa Nielsen closes the door on him and lets him go, and the delay is because of the gaps on the grid, because although the top half dozen manage to find themselves into the right positions, a number of other drivers are out of grid position, and so they have had to shuffle cars around, and perhaps they should have thought about that and got them to shuffle round on the warm-up lap and said to the drivers responsible, right, you let this car in front of you, and you go past those two cars and get yourselves sorted out. However, that would have been too easy. So here we have car 11, the RGN Motorsport Nissan Primera of Tommy Rustad. Last time we will see this shape Nissan Primera at a touring car race, or a top-line touring car race. I think they may continue in private hands. Well, these are private cars. They are certainly not factory funded cars. Bob Neville and the RGN Motorsport crew have done a sterling job with not next to nothing, but quite a long way past next to nothing in terms of budget this year. As the safety car comes around to the back of the grid, here is Jörg Müller. 42 car should start on row 2 of the grid on the outside. That's where he is. And on the inside, rather, of row 3. So we are now hearing something that is going to confuse me really badly, because 30-second penalties have been awarded to 4 cars following the collisions at the first corner of race 1, and there is one of them, Ricard Riedel. The 42 car of Jörg Müller has also been hit with a 30-second penalty on his time for race 1. The 21 car of Duncan Heisman has been hit with a 20-second penalty, although we saw quite clearly that he was hit behind from Tom Ferrier, and the number 3 car of Romano Bernardoni has also been hit with a 30-second penalty. That means, of course, that the top 6 from race 1 is no longer the top 6 from race 1. Dirk Müller on the grid. Now, we were told not to expect that. I beg your pardon, this is a replay of the first start. Dirk Müller in 11th. There's Tom Ferrier in front of us. And on the right-hand side of those 3 BMWs is Duncan Heisman, who gets spun around. Heisman clearly played no part in the accident other than being hit from behind. He was not the BMW in the middle of the track, so there, for one, is an utterly ludicrous penalty. Now, how they're going to sort this out, I'm afraid the Lord only knows. I'm assuming that Hansen and Rustad should now not be on the front row of the grid, because they will not now be 5th and 6th, because we will have lost 2nd place Jörg Müller and 3rd place Ricard Riedel from the top half dozen in the first race. So what are they going to do? Are they going to apply the penalty retrospectively now to round 20, in which case, if Jörg Müller wins, does he have to win by 30 seconds and a fraction to keep his win? Or is the penalty applied to the result of race 19, where it should be applied, in which case we need to change the starting grid? Okay, I give up. I really do. They've had 20 minutes to sort this out, and they still haven't managed to come up with a sensible conclusion. I'm afraid the stewards here, and this is certainly no personal slight, they really need to have got their act together a little better, a little quicker. Here is the grid as they are ready to start, except Marco Antonelli is not in position 7. He is in the pit lane. Romano Bernardoni, she's been hit by a penalty. Lord knows where she should be starting. As far as I can tell, maybe Eric Cayrol or Rob Collard should actually be on pole position. Duncan Heisman and Tom Ferrier with damaged cars, as were Freddie Ekbrom, Nicola Larini, Salvatore Tavano and Jordi Canet, all towards the back of the grid, those of the halt and the lame that have been fixed. We're looking back from Heisman at Tom Ferrier's Alpha. So we don't know at least that they are on the grid, or at least now on their warm-up lap, but I'm afraid that I will I will consider this all to be strictly sub judice, and remember when we get into the excitement of the race that any postulations I make towards the end about Jörg Müller being runner-up in the championship are entirely subject to me having forgotten that the first race is now completely chaos, and as far as Jörg is concerned, probably a total and utter write-off. So, well, at least we know that Fabrizio Giovanardi is the champion, and unless, of course, that changes in the next 20 minutes. So Giovanardi starting with the championship firmly under his belt. Romano Bernardoni behind him, Eric Cairol. Rob Collard coming through the shot. There's Tom Ferrier's Alpha gone out of shot. So let's get ready for the start of the final race of the year. James Hansen and Tommy Rustad lead the field to the grid for race 20 of the FIA European Touring Car Championship 2002, the last round of the season. Estoril in Portugal, the final round of the European Touring Car Championship 2002. James Hansen and Tommy Rustad on the front row of the grid. Tom Coronel and Ricard Riedel staying where they are. And the penalties now have been changed. Jörg Müller given a 30-second penalty. Ricard Riedel, Duncan Heisman and Romano Bernardoni 20-second penalties to be applied Lord knows when or where. But away we go for race 20. James Hansen on pole in the Volvo, beaten away not only by Tommy Rustad but also by Jörg Müller and by Tom Coronel. Coronel making a good start but not as good as Jörg Müller's. Müller leads, Coronel second, so Müller now has to have Coronel hold up Fabrizio Giovanardi in third and everyone else. As behind Heisman, there is the Volvo and there is Eric Cairol. It's the Volvo of Ricard Riedel. There is Frederick Ekblom's BMW Team Belgium car. And this is all very exciting stuff, but it would be rather more interesting to see what's going on around maybe the championship contenders. Who can say? So as we left them, Jörg Müller leading, however, Giovanardi now passed Coronel into second, Hansen in fourth place, oh dear, and Tommy Rustad way down the order, there I think just being passed by his teammate, and that's not good at all. Well, it's good for Robert Collard, but not for Tommy Rustad. Something must have gone astray in the RJN Nissan. What a shame for him. Where is Riedel as well? Has Riedel dropped down the order, or was it Hansen? There's certainly only one Volvo in the top 10. Let's have a look as they come across the line. So Jörg Müller leads, Fabrizio Giovanardi chasing him in second place, Coronel third, a Volvo fourth, BMW's fifth and sixth. And that may be what we're looking at now. Heisman with Ekblom behind him. Yes, indeed it is. Heisman there with the red windscreen strip. Freddie Ekblom in sixth place. So Jörg Müller with a 30-second penalty, possibly applied somewhere, either to the results of race 1, in which case it should have affected the grid as well, or to the results of race 2, in which case it's a nonsense. 20-second penalty for Ricard Riedel, 20-second penalty for Duncan Heisman, 20-second penalty for Romano Bernardoni. So all bets are off. The only man that we can count on in this, and how ironic is that, is Fabrizio Giovanardi. Jörg Muller leads, Giovanardi right behind him, and as Muller got damaged, Giovanardi just dives inside. This is not the way that the Alfa was handling in race 1 compared to the BMW. And up to the Nadjeri chicane, down the gearbox he comes in the race lead. Giovanardi leads. So what about Muller? What has happened to Jörg Muller's car? Has he lost a gear maybe? Or has he lost his brakes? Has he lost his clutch? Something, I fear, has happened to the 42 Schnitzer BMW. And maybe after all of this topsy-turvy race weekend, Nicola Larini will take second in the points. Well, Giovanardi leads. And I say Nicola Larini may take second in the points. Don't even know if Larini has started the race yet. Sorry, I'm only getting the timing and scoring that you are on the screen. We haven't seen that far down the order. So Muller still now with Giovanardi. Could it just have been a mistake? Possibly. Volvo under pressure for third place. And Coronel shown ahead of Rickard Rydell. But that has changed again after the start-finish line. Looking down the order, Tom Ferrier, Romano Bernardoni, Tommy Rustad, dropped right down to 11th from the front row of the grid. What a shame for him. Unfortunately, the director not quite hanging around enough to show us the only thing really that matters in this final round of the championship, whether there is car 2 out there. So, well, here's the way it works. Jörg Muller's in second. Let's assume this is how they finish. Muller's in second. If the 30-second penalty is applied to race 1, then he starts race 2 behind in the points, behind Nicola Larini by 5 points. If he finishes second here, he gets 6 points, and so he then becomes the runner-up in the series again. However, if he keeps the 6 points from the first race, and Nicola Larini hasn't started or doesn't score in the top half dozen in race 2, then in the end, if the 30-second penalty is applied to Jörg Muller, it really doesn't matter here either. However, I'm afraid I'm unable to tell you any more than that. Out of this race weekend, if Nicola Larini does not score, and it looks as though he may not, Jörg Muller needs 6 points. It's as simple as that. He scored 6 points once. He may well be on his way to scoring 6 points twice as we see Freddie Ekblom complete the move on Duncan Heisman. Up into 4th place he goes. And Heisman looks to be struggling with Coronel, the two Team Great Britain BMWs side by side. Everybody watching who works in Bracknell, close your eyes. And Ekblom going by again. So there is Coronel, there is Ekblom, and Heisman behind him being pushed by the Alfa, pushed out wide. And was that Romana Bernardoni using her front bumper? That may be a series record. I don't think I've seen Romana Bernardoni shove anybody out of the way in 3 years of watching her racing in the Alphas. Big plume of smoke off the back of off the front wheel of the BMW, and it wasn't in fact Romana Bernardoni, no. It was Eric Cayrol in the Bugatti car, the number 16 Alpha with the French flag on the roof. Couldn't see the flag from the camera, but we certainly saw the move. So Giovanardi still ahead of Jörg Muller. Rydell in 3rd place, Coronel in 4th. And the BMW's battling for 5th and 6th. It's now Ekblom up into 5th. There he is, and 6th position. There, in fact, was Jörg Muller ahead of Rydell. Freddie Ekblom with a very similar black and red and gold flag on the roof, the flag of Belgium rather than Germany, though. Frederick Ekblom now ahead of Duncan Heisman. As Jörg Muller, well, sticks to his task, but perplexingly, unlike race 1, unable to catch Fabrizio Giovanardi in the early going. Now, was it just that Giovanardi was playing mind games in race 1, or have the Nord Auto men made a subtle change to the Alfa Romeo to make it work? Well, James Hansen, we heard on pole position, saying that he lost the front splitter of his Volvo going across the beach in turn 1 in that big kerfuffle, and ended up in 6th position. Maybe they need to look at taking the splitters off Rydell's car as well if they race here again. Hansen, the pole sitter, dropped way down the order. Fabrizio Giovanardi from 6th has come through to lead this last race of the championship that he has already won. Jörg Müller in 2nd place, still, possibly, maybe. We're unsure of the details, waiting to tie up 2nd in the championship. At least one Portuguese fan thrilled to see Giovanardi leading here. So Jörg Müller trying to overhaul Nicola Larini for 2nd spot in the championship. He was 5 points behind Larini coming into the final 2 races of the season. Larini didn't score in race 1. Müller was 2nd on the road, but has been hit by a 30-second penalty to be applied somewhere or other, and so may not have clinched the 6 points he needed in race 1 to take the runner-up spot, but he may be able to do it here, because he is 2nd in race 2. And that too should give him 6 points, because surely they can't penalise him out of both sets of points. Not with Charlie Lamb in the paddock, that's for sure. Charlie Lamb's Schnitzer team brought 2 cars here, vying for the chance of overhauling Larini. For Dirk Müller, it all ended at the first corner of race 1. He only qualified in 11th place with his 30 kilos of success ballast following Donington Park. And he was caught in the first corner melee, couldn't avoid hitting the car of Duncan Heisman amidships. And as a result, damage to his car put him out of race 1. He is in race 2, but out of the points, as you see, Ekblom and K-Roll in the points at the moment, ahead of Heisman and Genet. And there's Larini in 11th place ahead of Tommy Rustad. So Larini is in the race. Well, we couldn't see if he had started the race or not because of the confusion away from the topsy-turvy grid at the start. Nicola Larini 5 places away from any points at all, though, at the moment, and that is bad news for him and good news for Jörg Müller. Good news too for Jörg Müller is that there are plenty of cars between Müller in 2nd and Larini in 11th. Now what he really needs is for Larini not to finish at all. There is Antonelli, who we saw starting from the pit lane, and the Bugatti car out of the race. Looks like he's been in off the barriers and parked the remaining bits and pieces of the car. Looks like he was looking down inside either to find the ignition or perhaps fiddle with the gear change, not quite sure which. But Antonelli out of it anyway. And Jörg Müller now starting to close on Nicola Larini, on Fabrizio Giovanardi. Can Müller add a race win in the final round of the season? Well, this is the way it was in the first race with Rydell in 3rd. Earlier a little in the going, Müller caught Giovanardi, and then gradually, as he tried to get past the Italian's Alfa Romeo, Rydell reeled the 2 of them in. Now the problem for Jörg Müller is that Tom Coronel is right with Ricard Rydell at the moment. Larini is now up to 10th, having had Romano Bernardoni sidestep and allow him by, of course, his teammate, and why wouldn't she? So Müller in 2nd could really do with those 10 points rather than 6, because Larini is getting perilously close, and here is Müller on the inside of Giovanardi. Gio's run out wide, the first mistake all weekend from Giovanardi. Müller with the run up to the corner, and Giovanardi is pulling up, or is he? Now my brain is madly trying to scramble to come up with of course, he is going to drop back and allow Nicola Larini to catch and pass him, to try and hold up as many people as possible, to bunch the field maybe. No, he's not. It's all over. Giovanardi's car is out of the race. He will not win his 10th race of the series. Now he's got it fired. He's trying to find a gear. It is moving. He's got a gear. So, does that mean a chronically slipping clutch, or has he got a broken drive shaft? You're hearing the sounds, you're looking at the external picture, that's Giovanardi. Well, it is race over for Giovanardi, no matter what the reason. Through the S's here, breathtaking 140-mile-an-hour sequence in a Formula One car it used to be, but now it's just a tottering crawl for Giovanardi. So Jörg Müller must barely believe what's happening to him this weekend. Came here knowing he needed to score 6 more than Larini and thinking that might be an uphill task. Got them in the first race as Larini went out. On the grid, did he know he had a penalty? Did the Schnitzer team tell him? Does he know yet? Well, leading the race, Rydell second, and in third place, Tom Coronel. You couldn't write this stuff, could you? You really couldn't. Looking back from, I guess, Duncan Heisman's car still. You see a battle under braking, and I would think, is that Eric Caroll rather than Nicola Larini? I think it is. But Larini surely can't be much further away. Maybe that is Nicola Larini. There's Tom Ferrier in the Alpha. Well, as an Alpha driver, you might hope, or Larini might hope that he let him by. No, it was Ferrier, in fact, that we were watching. He was chasing Jordi Genet, and it is they who are behind Heisman. And Larini not yet in shot, notice. As we look back from Heisman, who's in 6th place now, as Giovanardi has gone, we've got Müller, Rydell, Coronel, Ekblom, Caroll, Heisman, then Genet and Ferrier, who we were looking at, and Larini still not close enough to need anybody to let him by. Ricard Rydell, 2nd place, but Tom Coronel can smell his best result of the season. He was on the podium at Spa. Can he move up onto step 2 now at the expense of Rydell? Indeed, if somehow they can shoehorn Rydell out of 2nd place, we might yet have an all-BMW podium. Freddie Ekblom's in 4th, looking back still now from Heisman. You can see Giovanardi in the long shot in the background. Right behind Heisman is Genet, then Ferrier, and that's Larini rather, not Giovanardi. Stop talking nonsense, Martin. So Larini is still quicker than the group he's chasing, which we're watching now. And Genet in that little tight sequence right up behind Heisman. There is Rydell with Coronel, Heisman's teammate, all over the back of him, looking for 2nd place in the Team GB BMW, and he goes inside, takes 2nd place from Rydell on that downhill left-hander that Schumacher so famously used on Damon Hill in the Formula One Grand Prix. Well, change and change again in this race here at Estoril. Tom Coronel in 2nd place now ahead of Ricard Rydell. BMW's 1st and 2nd. The Volvo in 3rd place. Jörg Müller leads. And now for Rydell, the trouble is writ large in the shape of Freddie Ekblom. Out of race 1 with damaged rear suspension from the first corner shunting, which he and many others were involved. Ekblom in 4th place and all over the boot lid of the Volvo. Fabrizio Giovanardi has made it back to the pits, and we may get a chance to find out what happened to him in just a second.
Fabrizio Giovanardi, you had a problem with the car, you didn't finish the race. What happened to the car?
But I feel some noise in the start of my race. I think I had the problem with the gearbox, but I'm so happy because I was in front of everybody. So I start 6th, and after 1 lap I was in front of everybody. It's good like this.
Okay, so you are the champion this year. What are you going to do next year? I heard that maybe you will go to BMW.
Maybe.
You have no other answer to tell me?
No.
Okay, so you're not staying here? You're not going there?
No, I have nothing to do. At the moment I want to stop my season in this team, and then I will think about that.
And what do you think of BMW?
I think it's a good car. Now it's in front of everybody. Before it was me. I don't know.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Good, great little interview there with Fabrizio Giovanardi. Cranking the rumour mill there, I think. Giovanardi racing for BMW, well, yeah, and Schumacher in the Minardi. Could happen. Of course, it's not gonna. Jörg Müller, Tom Coronel, Rickard Rydell and Freddie Ekblom. You're looking at second, third and fourth there. BMW surrounding the Volvo, and Duncan Heisman with Eric Cairol behind him now, and then Heisman moving up ahead of Cairol in the last lap indeed. Ferrier, Genet and Larini are 7th, 8th and 9th. So Larini steadily moving up the order, and Genet is out of the race, so there is another position for Larini, now up to 8th place, just as well that Jörg Müller has the race lead, because Genet is out in the BMW Team Spain entry. He, like Giovanardi, will not finish the last race of the year. So Larini getting closer and closer to the points, and he has Tom Ferrier's Alfa Romeo Team Great Britain car in front of him as the leaders come towards us. Jörg Müller may well win the race, but will he win the war? Will he take second place, as we see Ekblom getting great drive out of the first turn into turn 2. He goes past Rydell, and there you see the move that Jörg Müller tried to put on Fabrizio Giovanardi lap after lap after lap, and Giovanardi had the drive off turn 1 to avoid it. Rickard Rydell there just didn't. So it's all BMW podium now. Rydell down to 4th, and worse for him, he's got Heisman behind him in 5th. And of course, Cairol dropping back. What car does Eric Cairol drive? Although it's a privateer car, it's still an Alfa Romeo. Maybe the Bugatti team have been asked by Nordauto to get their man to slow down and allow Nicola Larini, for the greater glory of Alfa Romeo, to come up into the points. Maybe Tom Ferrier's car as well. The Dart Racing Team Great Britain Alfa Romeo will be asked to slow down and allow Nicola Larini through. Well, with BMW second and third, you can bet your bottom dollar that Larini will not get a podium finish, because first Freddie Ekblom and then Tom Coronel will fight tooth and nail for BMW to hold the Alfa off, but he may not need to. If we assume that neither Jörg Müller nor Nicola Larini will score from race 1, and I think perhaps we must, then Jörg Müller will get 10 points for the win. Nicola Larini must be second to prevent the loss of that second place in the championship. And behind the BMWs and the Volvo, there are now 3 Alfas line astern. So we've got Müller, tick, Coronel, tick, Ekblom, tick, Rydell in 4th, then Heisman, and now Larini does come past Cairol and Ferrier, no question about it. Larini up into 6th place in the points. Tom Ferrier, oh sorry, I've got a very loose connection on my headset, sorry about that. It's Tom Ferrier now right behind Nicola Larini. Now, did Larini pass him on sheer speed, or did Tom get the call? Well, whatever the way it was, for Jörg Müller, things are starting to look more and more precarious. Now, we have seen a rabbit out of the hat GT championship win by Christophe Bouchou here. There's Monica Sips. Can she and Nicola Larini work the same magic? If only Giovanardi was still leading the race, but he's not. Last lap, Jörg Müller leads. Rydell there in 4th place, looking for Larini. Well, it'll be victory for Jörg Müller on the road in the second race here at Estoril, as it was second place for him in the first race. Now, he will lose one or the other of those. If he loses second place in the first race for his 30-second penalty, I'm sure he will score no points, which means that in this race he needs to score 6 more than Nicola Larini, and at the moment he is doing that, because he will get 10 and Larini will get 1 for 6th place. Checkered flag waits. The final European touring car race of the new generation, of the new era, has come to a finish here at Estoril. Little stoppy there from Tom Coronel in 2nd place. Freddie Ekblom makes it an all BMW podium. Rickard Rydell 4th, Duncan Heisman 5th, and Nicola Larini 6th. And I think the faces of the Nordauto team say it all. They came here knowing they would have a tough battle, and Jörg Müller, the winner of this race, on the road at least. I stress, we've been told that he will receive a 30-second penalty for, I'm assuming, the collision with Nicola Larini in the first corner of race 1. Now, whether that's applied to race 1 or race 2, either way, I don't think it matters. I think no matter which way this shakes down, Nicola Larini will be not second.
Champion, your team has won 2, but the last race was not so good for you.
No, this race was not so good, but this was for us only a battle. We won the war. So for us it was important, yes, also today, but we did our job just in Donington, so for us it's good now.
And what about the season?
About the season, a very good season, a very good team, driver and so on. We are very happy for the season.
Thank you.
Thank you, bye.
Well, so she should be, and so too should Giovanardi, Larini and everybody else from the Nord Auto team. So confirmation then, an all BMW podium, maybe the first of the year potentially. Can't remember quite what happened at Oschersleben. Rydell 4th ahead of Heisman. Larini a single point for 6th position, and that's a 1-point weekend for Nicola Larini. Then moves him on to 86 points, and Dirk Muller I think moves either from 80 to 86, but with more wins, or from 80 to 90, depending on which one of the wins or of the races they take away from him. So let me just double check that, because Jörg Muller has now a 4th win and Larini has won 4. It will then go back to places if they are tied on points. Larini with 4 second places, and Muller will only have 3 if he loses the 1 from the first race here. So I'm afraid Muller must lose those points from race 1 to be second in the championship. And it seems from what Monica Sips was saying then that the teams have been told something that we haven't, which is that the 30-second and 20-second penalties we were told about have been enforced on the result of race 1, which still leaves the grid of race 2 being completely wrong. However, that's the way they started, and I think that is the way they will finish. So Jörg Muller then with 93 points unofficially, again, I must stress unofficially. Giovanardi, the championship winner, no question about it. Jörg Muller, 2nd place in the points. Nicola Larini taking 3rd spot. So, goodness me. And I thought the GT race was dramatic enough. It's been a very dramatic weekend all round. Alfa Romeo, the manufacturers' champions ahead of BMW, and Nord Auto winning ahead of Schnitzer in the team's championship. And that is our touring car action for the year. Done and dusted. Tom Coronel stealing bottles of water from Pippa of Volvo. Let's
Tom, you won the race in 2nd position, and now the BMW, they're in front of everybody.
Yeah, I mean, the Alfa Romeo suffered really. I think Giovanardi had a problem. He was very fast at the beginning of the race, and I was a bit scared that he kicked me off, so I just let a bit of space and let him by. Even Rydell was on new tires, so I thought probably to let him by, but he couldn't follow. Yeah, it was a fantastic race for me. Even I got a little bit of problems with my gearbox at the end, so I took it a little bit easy. But my car was fantastic. Team did a fantastic job. I'm happy. Good car.
And the season from BMW, the whole season?
The whole season, we suffered at the beginning of the season. I mean, just with the rule change, we got a little bit competitive. And if you look from the middle of the season till now, it is 50-50 Alfa Romeo and BMW. And that's how a championship should be. And that's how the championship should continue next year.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So Jörg Muller, runner-up spot in the series then, unofficially. And the Schnitzer team doing a great job here to get the BMW to the podium both times. But Jörg, I'm afraid, that beard, oh no, that's just wrong, wrong. Jörg Muller then, 2nd place in the points and winner of the 20th and final race of the season. And Rickard Rydell, well, unfortunately out of the points despite, off the podium rather, despite those new tyres for the 2nd race. Well, that's not quite it for our programming this Sunday afternoon. At 6 o'clock on British Eurosport, we'll be bringing you the highlights of the GT race, all the action you missed. plus the title decided, of course. And then on Wednesday evening, we will have our magazine programme roundup of the weekend and a special focus on the Nord Auto team, the touring car champions. So confirmation then, 1900 Central European, 6 British Eurosport, British Summertime if you're watching in the UK, Ireland or in Portugal. And that will be the highlights of what was a thrilling and very, very edge of the seat FIA GT counter, the 10th and final race of the season here at Estoril in Portugal. And of course, Wednesday evening, the magazine programme will bring you all the action from the touring cars, the GTs, the Formula Renaults, the Clios and the Lamborghini Diablo Trophy race as well. And then the profile of Monica Sips and Team Nord Auto also on Wednesday night. And that will round out a season of great racing, the LG Super Racing Weekend. I'll see you again at 6. Join me then.
With LG Electronics, digitally yours.